And I'm here with Reagan Reynolds and Ben Flanagan, and we wanted to walk y'all through some of the resources online for our new curriculum launching next weekend, the Gospel Project. So you're looking at our home page right now. You can access that by going to www.second.org/Gospel Project. If you click that link, then you will end up on this page. And it looks pretty similar to our old teacher page, which you may have accessed before, but we did want to show you a few of the key differences. And so what we're going to do right now, we're going to walk through a sample lesson. This will be the weekend of June 3rd and 4th. That is next weekend. So clicking that link will download the PDF file, which you can then click on, and here we have the first lesson.
Which is a painting by Ben Flanagan.
Absolutely.
Original. Okay.
All right, Ben, why don't you walk us through what this lesson looks like?
So you're going to scroll down to the main page here of the summary and the goal, and I want you to notice a couple things. The session has already been outlined for you, so you can take a look at this and it'll give you your main passage and the 4 main points from the text. So this week we have Jesus' parable on the sower and the soil, and so you can see the 4 different types of soil that are outlined here. Below that is the theological theme, which will be pretty much your central idea of the text. And then you'll have the Christ connection, which is where Jesus is emphasized most and highlighted most in this text. And then further down below that is the missional application, which is what you're going to emphasize for the people in your class to do and the big takeaway for them.
Yeah, one of the things I thought was really great about the Gospel Project is how oftentimes when I'm preparing to teach and I'll see the passage, I'll be reading through that passage and I'll spend about a day to a day and a half just coming up with what my main point is going to be or what my sub-points are going to be that feed into that main idea. And what I love about the Gospel Project is it eliminates a lot of that work right off the bat. Is that right here, almost every lesson that I've gone through and I've seen the theological theme, that's immediately popped out to me as the main point that I'm gonna include. And then the session outlines are great in that they reinforce that main point and they really divide that text really well. And so I'm excited because I think this is gonna save me a lot of time as I prepare each week.
Yeah, that's certainly true. And guys, what we would like, at least as staff from the church, is we would like you to use particularly the theological theme as your main idea as you put these lessons together. And it's going to help you more than it will hinder you if you use the skeleton that they put together in the session outlines. And then once you use those things, you have a little freedom in the middle to use your own applications, some of your own stories, things like that. We'll look at some of the resources that they also give us here later on as you're putting your lesson together. So that was the first page with all the main stuff, and now here is the more nitty-gritty. You'll see that there's a bunch of extra resources and things that they give you on the sides and ideas that you can put into your lesson. And Ben has looked at a lot of these things and wants to share some of them with you.
Yeah, so if you'll actually scroll back up to the first page, what you'll notice is usually they give you an introduction and they give you some sort of an idea of how to open up your lesson for the weekend. And so particularly in this one, it talks about the emphasis of storytelling and how Jesus oftentimes tells stories to make a point and a truth about God and His kingdom. And so the introduction is going to tell you right here, give you an idea of maybe some stories that you can tell just to launch into this idea that Jesus was a storyteller. And then so if you'll scroll down a little bit, what you'll have is you'll see some of these discussion questions that are put into the Gospel Project curriculum right here, and these are really here for you, the teacher, to kind of spur some thought and some reflection in your own heart about how this parable is rooting in your own life. So if you look here, it says, what are some good characteristics of a heart that is receptive to see and to hear the good news of the gospel? As I'm going through this lesson and preparing it, what I'm actually doing is I'm reading these questions and I'm asking those questions to myself before I even develop the lesson, and those are some things that you can really hit on as a teacher in front of your class as well. And so These are questions that are discussion questions, but they're also internal questions for yourself as well.
Yeah. And these things can spur, your own thought as you're putting the lesson together. And you do not necessarily have to take these questions and open them up to the class and have them all discuss. Actually, we would rather you not do that most of the time. But the questions are really good to use, in the process of putting your lesson together. And you can even ask them rhetorically at points too as you put the lesson together. We also want you to see some of the things that they put on the sides. Like they give you options of things that you can discuss further, and also this is where they add things like missional application and the Christ connection. So there's a whole bunch of resources they put here, a cornucopia of resources, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely. And that Christ connection, we can't emphasize enough how important that is. Really, the heart of the Gospel Project is showing how the whole story of Scripture points towards Christ and the redemptive work of God through the person and work of Jesus. And so that Christ connection is just essential that we include that in every single lesson and everything we teach. Because really the Bible is the story of Christ. And especially here, as we see in Matthew, Jesus' teaching, the Christ connection isn't very difficult to see.
That's true.
But we would include that whether we're in Matthew, whether we're in the New Testament, or even the Old Testament, showing how Christ is rooted in that passage. Then, of course, applying that message to your audience's life.
Yeah. Totally. Hey, one more thing that we can add too is they add a bunch of other things that you can see on the sides, like quotes from people at different periods of church history that you can put into your lesson. There's just a lot of good resources condensed into one place in these lessons, and we would really like you guys to utilize this as you're putting it together. It's going to make your job of teaching easier, and we believe it's going to make you a more effective teacher as well. So,
absolutely. I mean, you could spend 10 hours trying to Google quotes from church fathers, or you can rely on these amazing quotes that the Lifeway staff have curated and putting all this curriculum together. On top of that, there are a lot of great resources in this curriculum we've given you. But if you're searching for more curriculum or more resources to access, Lifeway has actually spent time curating updated content, which they posted online at their additional resources page. You should be able to access that from our Gospel Project page. If the link's not there now, we're working to get that updated, and we will have that on there shortly.
All right, guys. Well, hey, we're here to help you as you teach going forward in the future. If you have questions, you can ask whoever your staff representative in your department is, and keep checking the Gospel Project website because we're going to be putting all the links and things that you need there, and we look forward to hearing you guys teach.